Hey there, my name's Jay, and this is a full demo of Who Goes There played on my board game table. So Who Goes There is played in 3 different phases. In each phase, players will spend action cubes to perform different actions around the camp. At the end of each player's turn, they're going to press their button to end their turn. Once all players have ended their turns, we go into an upkeep phase. There is an administrative player in the back left corner seat of the table. This player is able to end the upkeep phases as well as move the game along at certain points. I've moved just a few things around here on the screen to make things easier to see. In person, the screens are very easy to see and the instructions are very easy to read, but of course, they don't come across too well on camera, especially with all sorts of different lighting effects happening in the room and different screens. So I've taken the 3 different camera shots and put them all together, hopefully so you can get an idea of what's going on, and I'll kind of narrate exactly what's happening here. So here we have the table in a bit of an idle state. Instead of running around the table pressing buttons, I'm faking it with a keyboard here. The admin can cycle through different games and then pick one. Once they've picked a game, all players will select a color by pressing their own buttons. And once all players have selected a color, the admin will start the game. The reason I've chosen to show you Who Goes There is because I've done a lot of smart home integration with this particular game. So you can see when the game starts, we play a vignette on the TV. We also change the lighting in the room to kind of an Arctic blue. And actually, in just a moment, if you watch the bottom left screen, the fan in the room will start blowing cold air on the players, only for a little bit, just to set the ambience here. You've probably also noticed that that video is overlaid on top of the TV. Like I said earlier, it looks really nice in person, but doesn't show up on camera so well. So I just threw the video on top for you. And once the vignette has finished playing, the lights in the room return to a more usable state, and the TV just goes to a bit of a ambient state. So this video will just loop indefinitely until we move on to the next phase of the game. So the admin has started the game proper here. You can see we get some game setup instructions, and then we launch into an upkeep phase, followed by player turns. So the way that this works is each player, when they're done their turn, just needs to press their button. Here I'm doing it pretty quick. And then we move into an upkeep phase where the admin needs to end the upkeep phase. So we're going to do this a number of times. You can see each player pressing their button, and then the admin does upkeep, and then each player presses their button again. See here it says a food round. This is because some phases of Who Goes There work slightly differently than regular phases. And here's a sleep round. Again, the rules are dynamic based on how far we are in the game. As we're moving into a more difficult phase of the game, you can see another vignette starts to play. In this case, the lights in the room start flashing red to go along with the red flashes on the fire alarm in the video. And as the video fades to black, the lights stop, we go back to some more normal lighting, and we get another ambient video playing on the TV. The admin now starts the next phase of the game. We go through upkeep and player turns. Again, players take their turns, press their button to indicate that their turn is complete. We're going to see a lot of regular upkeep rounds, followed by some special upkeep rounds. Here we have that food round. This will be the second last round before we do another vignette. And the final round before a vignette. So in this case, I've decided to use the table buttons to actually play into the idea of a fire being on the screen. So this is extra fun because all players are now going to have this glowing yellow light on their faces, much like the characters in the video. So we can decide who's human and who's not in the board game.
But it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won. There's a storm hitting us in 6 hours. We're gonna find out who's who.
And as we fade to black here, some more effects with the lights. And then we go to kind of a steady state YouTube video for ambience. It's a little hard to tell on the video here, but we've actually dimmed the lights considerably. So for the final phase of the game, we make things just a little bit spooky and dim the lights just a little bit. We now go through the same procedure that you've seen a few times now. We go through player turns and upkeep, and then a little bit of special upkeep before heading to the end game. So the end game of Who Goes There takes place on a helicopter. You're deciding, after going through all of these rounds and paranoia is growing and you don't know who's human and who's not, you need to decide who's going to get on a helicopter and who you're going to let get on the helicopter with who. So at the very end here, we go into what's called the helicopter round. The lights are going to turn red, and we try to emulate the idea of being in a helicopter here at the end. And here we go. So we dim the lights. We set everything to red, including the table and the buttons. And in the bottom left corner, you can kind of get a better idea. It's a little washed out in the main video, but players are now in the helicopter, and this is where they decide who gets to leave the facility and who gets to stay in the snow. And as it says there in the top left, the administrator just needs to press their B2, their bottom button, to end the game and return everything to normal. And that's it.